everyone. On the occasion of International Women's Day, it's my pleasure to welcome you all to yet another exciting episode of Emerging Women Leaders in Manufacturing. With us today is none other than Miss Asha Pillai. Miss Pillai is a chartered accountant and a commerce graduate from St. Teresa's College in Cochin. Ms. Asha Pillai is currently the Chief Finance Officer and Finance Director for Hazira Group of Companies, which comprises of Shell Energy India Private Limited and Hazira Port Private Limited. She has been associated with Shell from the year 2007. She has served as a controller in projects and technologies and headed the finance function for the retail business in Bangalore. She subsequently took on a virtual global role managing finance for digital ventures for Shell's marketing business with a bi-monthly stint in London. Ms. Asha Pillai is also the chairperson for CII India's Women's Network in Gujarat. So welcome, Asha, to today's talk.
Thank you so much for having me, Grishma. Lovely meeting you.
Fantastic. So we have a couple of very interesting questions that I'd like to ask. So my first question to you is, there is a very strong stereotype for a very long time that men are better at handling money and accounts and finances. So have you ever faced any such stereotype?
Not systemically. I think we're fortunate that women in previous generations have already, sort of carved some of these paths out for us. But having said that, have I faced gender bias, which is unintentional and unconscious? Yes, of course. We all have. Most of us have been the one woman in the meeting rooms, and there is this double bind that women have to navigate. And the double bind is about if you come across as very competent, you're probably not likable, you're seen as assertive or aggressive. If you're too friendly, you're not seen as competent, and when you actually sort of do a statistical survey, a lot of women say they don't like her, so she's seen as competent but not likable. Whereas men, you don't see that at all. So there is a long way to go, and it is always about educating women, as in women and men, as in when they see the bias, the one thing we all need to do is call it out. One of my closest friends, in a meeting, we were driving back home, he was dropping me and he said, "You were really aggressive. What happened to you?" And I said, "If I were a man, you wouldn't say that,
Right. Wonderful, Asha. I think, whatever you said made so much sense. And I think the key word being the, unconscious bias that exists in society and to actually break through that. So really interesting. So again, like you mentioned, you're working in oil and gas. So what have been those few key skills or techniques that have helped you reach the leadership position in a male dominated industry?
I don't believe it is essentially any industry in specific. I think we still have a long way to go. Women face nonlinear career trajectories because of the three M's of marriage, maternity, and mobility. And the one big skill set, if I could sort of have all women adapt and adopt,
Right.
is faith in themselves. They just need to have more confidence.
Absolutely. So I'm certain while you went up the career ladder, you would have faced a lot of challenges. What were those learnings or what were those changes that you brought about in yourself so you could handle those challenges?
It was the second stint, and as a management graduate, when you come to the Karnataka sales office, you're the lone woman in the office, and I was really thrown into the deep end. And it took me about a year and a half to realize that I did not know the narrative behind the scenes. I was going to dinner with them. I was sort of meeting them in the office. They were friendly with me. But ultimately, they wouldn't really tell me what was going on, which is really important for my job. That's when I realized what diversity does. Now, if you have somebody you think is like you, who gets you, who's got the same wavelength, you share everything. If you think this person is a little bit different and you see that person as the other, you don't share everything. You can't build that trust.
Right.
So for me, the biggest learning from then on was to see how through formal mechanisms, not being part of the boys club, through formal mechanisms, get this innate storyline. you know, to do my job. And this was not the water cooler conversations, because the office gossip is normally not relevant to your job. So the way I've done this through the course of my years is map my stakeholders, business, finance, senior
Exactly.
stakeholders, peers, team members, and meet with them periodically. By just having these periodic meetings, sort of ask open-ended, curious questions on
Mm,
what's been going on, what are your priorities,
exactly.
and then you get context, and then you know what to do. How do I get my priority on the table
Right.
if he or she doesn't see that as relevant?
So, Asha, how would you motivate more women to join your industry?
So I'm not too concerned about women joining the workforce, because if you see women join at the workforce, and as long as you have a 50-50 policy of getting men and women,
Right.
as freshers, you're all right. The issue comes when women drop off the workforce on the three M's of marriage, mobility, maternity. It's always a woman whose career is the first casualty.
True.
They say 46% of women state unpaid care work as a reason to quit, vis-a-vis 6% of men. So the biggest success a woman can have in today's world is to have a full career. The way we can help these women is through mentoring. So I was mentoring a very promising colleague. She had multiple things coming at her at the same time, and her first reaction is, my goodness, I've got to quit. And it's socially acceptable to quit your job, right, for women. So we spoke over this, and then in a month's time she got a virtual role,
Okay.
and in a year's time things have settled and she's back to Shell's headquarters. So it's about mentoring these women and supporting them, showing them the options and being there for them and helping them ride out these really difficult situations. And these situations will come time and time and time again.
So, there is a certain word that has been very widely used, and I want to know what is your understanding of this word. So, what does women empowerment mean to you?
It's not a cliche, right? So that's my first reaction. So for me, women empowerment is the right to choose, be it getting married to someone, to having a child, to keeping a career, to leaving a career. The choice should be entirely in the women's control, if you know what I mean.
Right. What would be your three tips for someone who's transitioning from middle management to senior management, more leadership roles?
So I would say one, like I said, have faith in yourself.
Mm.
You will always find patriarchy, irrespective of whether it's a manufacturing organization or not. So, how do you sort of assert yourself? This is something that my VP HR told me. Yeah, up to 30% women are forced to conform. After 30%, they can be themselves. And finally, own your career.
Mm.
So, irrespective of which organization you're in or what your line manager tells you is not your career, it has to be up to you to decide what your ambition is.
Right.
Um,
I'm really enjoying this conversation. It was really insightful. So, for me, the top three takeaways from our discussion over the last 40 odd minutes has been, I think, that self belief and self confidence, and we shouldn't look for that outside. You've got to be your biggest cheerleader. That's really important.
Bang
Second,
on.
what I really appreciate, the support that you have from your family and the equal partnership that you spoke about. And the third thing that I've learned from our conversation is the ability to reach out to mentors. I think these are really simple, very practical things that, each one of us need to do while we have our goal and ambition.
Yes, indeed. So I think this Women's Day, you must gift yourself a membership with Confederation of Indian Industries Indian Women Network. And the reason I say that is you'll find your tribe, you'll find your soul sisters, you'll find your mentors, and also an external network. So you have options outside of your organization, because most of these roles that you land outside comes through a network. I have found my tribe and my network here and gained considerably from my association with CI Indian Women Network.
Great. So thank you once again, Asha, for being here with us today and sharing all your wonderful experiences and insights. I hope you've enjoyed this conversation. So we'd like to thank Faber Infinite Consulting, CII Young Indians Ahmedabad Chapter, Roundtable India, and Rotary International Club of Pune University. So thank you everyone for joining us, and we would like to wish you all a very happy Women's Day. Thank you.